We're in the middle of a very consuming civilization. I'm not just going to put it in American culture. Civilization as a whole. In the ancient Egyptians, the intestines were called the jackal. That which eats, metabolizes, and transforms the process. And what transforms it is the heart. For me, the significant lesson of this culture, as easily accessible as everything is to consume, is the willingness to not just say no to it, but to begin to feed and metabolize and transform the pain that it creates. Materialism creates pain. It is things that we are encouraged to go out and seek after, that our fathers tell us that we have to work hard for, and that art and beauty wouldn't give us those things, that we in fact have to go into the material world and earn a living. So how do we, in this culture, in this time, recognize when each other is in pain? It comes down to that. How do we attach to the misery in each life and says, I'm going to participate to transform it? Healing is not an immediate experience. And the wound may not be healed here and now. But a wound that exists now, if we do not want to pass it on to another generation, we have to begin to eat it now. And it's going to be healed at another time and another place. We're recognizing that life is constant. It's a continuum. And whatever our duration is, we're not only living it for us, but we're living it for others. We're actually living the lives now for others. What type of food are we willing to leave? How much more pain are we going to leave? How many more wounds are we going to leave for someone else to eat? So this is a very personal story that we decide upon every day. What are we going to eat? When we do not really begin to metamorphosize the experience in this life, in this culture, the violence, the rage, even our own pain, we in fact leave and pass it on for someone else to heal. Our children and their children. So it's a moral obligation for each person to be a healer. The sacred paths and tradition in which I study said everyone must be a healer. Because not only are you healing your own individuality, but you're also healing humanity. Because you're no different from I am, and I no different from you. Because what the common experience is our humanity.
But how can we begin to eat this pain that you're talking about? I know that's the right thing. And you have an illusion when you're reading the New York Times that you're eating some of this pain. But that's not what you mean.
You know, what I was thinking about is that you kind of have to go the other way around. We usually think about just taking in and taking in and taking in, but we never think about giving, you know, just putting that back into return. And in a lot of cases, in the indigenous point of view, which means indigenous to us, like in Guatemala, the Indians don't call themselves Indians, they call themselves indigenous, which means the local guys. The guys who live around here, you know, so so the local guys say, you know, what have you brought? Just the fact that you're present here is a gift, you know, and so what you give makes a tremendous amount of difference because you showed up to contribute. You didn't show up to take, but you showed up to put something down to feed, you know. So that's the whole idea. If you don't give or contribute in that way, you are disassociating yourself from the cycle of being eaten and eating. When we go pick plants, the first thing that we're taught to say to the plants is, someday I'm gonna be your food. So I come today to take you as my food, but someday I might not be your food, but I'm gonna be a food for one of your relatives. That's the first thing you say. So here I am in this place, you know, knowing that I will be your food someday. You know, and an amazing thing happens because you incorporating yourself into that cycle. I don't know, but I feel that that's part of the solution, is to realize that you eat, but you will also have to be eaten.
So how can you begin to eat this pain?
Well, it is first stop denying that it exists.
Yeah.
Stop denying that the pain exists.
Right.
There's enough of it to see and even experience in our own lives that when we do, acknowledge, yes, this is. Then we move to a sense of taking a stand. And in a sense, it is choosing to die. And let me put it in this context.
Right.
When you take a stand, you recognize that the possibilities that you may experience may be greater than the capacity that you now realize and know how to deal with it. But when you take a stand, the gods are in your favor. They send everything you need to work with. It is, and can only be experienced when you do take a stand.
That's right.
I remember that poem, Until One is Committed.
Yeah.
There is hesitancy, a chance to draw back. It takes commitment to eat pain and to transform it. My work with young men in serious pain. And their pain taught me more about love and compassion than any other experience, even from mother and father, even from my own parents. I've never felt love to the degree in which I deal with someone's pain. Like when a person looks into your eyes and says, I don't think I'm going to live. And this person is 15 years old. That says, well, tomorrow may never come. And you understand that to be real in a sense that the environment and the circumstances that are at odds with that person's life is present in them every moment. And this is a possibility. This really is a possibility. So you're dealing with them from a standpoint of their understanding of what they're facing. And then you begin to negotiate, to gamble with this idea of how to awaken at least hope, to try just for one more day. Just one more day we're trying for. And within that space and time, that duration of that one day, you try to love that person unconditionally. Love them unconditionally, beyond the good, beyond the evil, or whatever their particular circumstances are. And you meet them beyond their own consumptions, beyond their own violence. Most of these gangs, yes, they do commit a lot of violence, but you meet them beyond that. You will meet a very interesting person.
That's right.
You would meet a person with a capacity to love because they experience the extreme of the other side of it so much that their capacity even for violence and death, because it's so broad, so wide, so deep, that it's opposite when it's time for that to be replaced with fill it with just as much depth.
That's right.
And that person is able to love deeper, longer, and purer than anyone who will spend their time and their life just loving. The healing power is just as strong as their power to pull the gun, pull the trigger.
It's the same.
Just as immediate, just as intense as the fear that they generate when they're confronting the rival gang and everyone else. And you begin to work with that. You begin to say, well, how can I replace the scars? How do I replace their abandonment? How do I replace the violence that have been committed on them by their parents and the teachers in school and from 4th grade right through elementary school? How do you replace a culture looking at them as pathologic, that they're just born that way? And how do you put them in place of what they're always longing for? Love.
That's
For just someone to say, I understand. It doesn't matter why, but I understand. And I'm here for you for as long as you want me to be, to understand, to listen, not to judge, not to determine, because I really can't do that. I can't determine their choices. What I can allow them to see and what I have allowed them to see is that their choices result in certain results, certain actions, certain circumstances. But how do you put them back in harmony, even with the conflict that exists in their life? Allow them to at least be comfortable. We took one young man to Fairfax last March. And for the first time in 19 years in his life, the week that he spent at this men's conference, first time in 1 week he slept.
That's right.
Right through the night. In 19 years that he can remember. Not waking up with gunshots, not waking up with sirens, not waking up with people trying to kill him. After this third day, we couldn't really wake him in the morning.
That's right.
Sleeping was as good as anything else that he could ever experience. And he did it well. Because his soul needed it.
I remember he said to me, the last day he came up, he says, Martin, can't we all just always stay here? Can't we just always stay here? Why do we have to go anywhere else? And it was our feeling too.
Yeah. He told me, he said, you brought me to this place and all I saw was green and gold, the trees. He said, all I can remember is green and gold instead of concrete. When we change the eyes or change the vision and put up these things that we don't really internally respond to. The soul doesn't respond to concrete. It is one of the enemies that we've created. So we're going to go through this time naming enemies. We've created what Bob Marley called a concrete jungle. Trappings that we bump into and our nature don't recognize. And this young man, as within 3 months, and this is a remarkable experience to witness his own compassion. That he was at a place and some other gang members came to him and asked him if he had any money with him. And he said, all I had was $3. And they said, give it to me. He said, man, you're going to take my last $3 from me? And they said, yes. First they asked him if he belonged to a gang, and he said no. And this was the first time he said no, that he did not belong to a gang. Because his acceptance was he's going to die for his gang, regardless where or when. And he's not going to disown that. So his transformation even came when he said, I'm not into that thing. And then he gave them the $3. And he turned to him and said, Orland, I don't know what's happening to me. He said, my first time I allowed someone to take something from me. First time in my life I allowed someone to take something from me. But he said, I realized it wasn't worth to fight for that. That wasn't my fight. His fight was to stay alive.
That's right.
His fight was to stay alive. Part of a line in his African proverb says, being alive to hear this song is the victory. It doesn't matter what happens, what's being alive, even to see it is the victory. So it is what you give. What is it that you give to another person, as Miguel just said, that sometimes make the difference. And we all have a gift. We all have the gift because we all have the very things that can reach a person. And we all have the ability to take a stand. And when we do, the whole dynamics of life begin to move towards us. And we recognize in each other the nobility of our soul.
Thank you, Orland, very much.